Welcome to another episode of the For the Culture Podcast, soccer podcast for us, by us, talking about the intersection of black culture and soccer. Got your boy here, Grego here. Got TK here on the ones and twos. We got guests. We got more guests. Talking about our homie from Protagonist Pods, Dan Vaughn.
What's up? How you doing, Greg?
Hey, I'm chilling. And the man over here to Dan's right is someone I've actually been wanting to get on the show for quite some time. For those of y'all in the soccer community, you might know him for various things. He tried to run for vice president of U.S. Soccer. He is a heavy advocate for the OPA system in American soccer. And honestly, he's a good dude. Chris Kessell, my man. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, man. I wanted to have you guys on to talk the NISA Independent Cup that actually just started this past week. Kind of get some education about that tournament and whatnot. Looks like the spring season of NISA just ended, and now going into the summer, we're going into the Independent Cup, and definitely want to get some eyes and ears on that and whatnot. Give a slight change of pace, during the summer, because we just got done with the Euros. We just got done with Copa America. Gold Cup just started. We got. It's a good time to be alive right now. Like, you gonna get your damn soccer fix this summer. You no matter what time of the day, it could be 3:00, it could be 10:09. You gonna get your soccer. So, but what's good with you, TK?
Chilling, man, watching this Panama Qatar game, or Qatar if you are a PhD. It's been a good week. Been chilling, a little slow pace at work, which is a very nice surprise, welcome surprise, especially off of that 4-day week. So yeah, just been hanging out.
Word. But yeah, thanks you guys for getting at us this week on your favorite podcast apps: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audio Boom, Spotify, Stitcher, Anchor, and the FTCUTD YouTube channel, and of course, the Alliance of Protagonist Pods. I don't know where to start here, because I feel like just the weekend alone it was a lot. It really was a lot. But I feel like if nothing else, especially coming off of last week's show, we got to give a shout out to Ty. Messi did it. Messi finally got it.
Goat.
And so, TK, did you ever watch The Wood, the movie?
Ooh, yeah, not ringing a bell. Sorry.
Oh my goodness, man!
I'm sorry. Maybe I've seen it and then I don't remember it, which honestly happens more often than not these days with me.
Like with Morris Chestnut and
yeah.
I saw it.
So Chris knows.
And so, of course, during the flashback when they were kids, and I think it was Slim. No, it wasn't Slim. The kid from North Carolina, he was getting Keisha's number, and his friends were like, I'm trying to get all the numbers that I can find, but he got the one number. He got Keisha's number. He's like, yo, this one number is worth 10 of them girls up in here. And I feel like Messi getting the Copa America in Brazil is worth probably a good two or three international trophies, because I feel like this is something that Maradona hasn't done. And given, of course, Messi's body of work,
how old is Lionel?
The fact of him winning in Brazil is huge. I think that's something that actually will go down pretty big in his overall resume. But did y'all catch the game on Saturday?
I didn't. On the only the question that came to me out of that match was were there people questioning his GOAT status before this? I mean, I get it whenever a player maybe struggles in a particular competition or something, but Messi's credentials sort of speak for themselves. I mean, dude is, in my mind, and I'm not the biggest world soccer guy. Sometimes I don't catch everything that everyone else is watching, but I felt like Messi was pretty uncontested. I mean, I say uncontested. He's 1A or 1B, depending on how you see with Cristiano. I don't like Cristiano as much for some of the off the field stuff, but like Messi is like that guy that like, he's a quiet, like killer. Like that dude is like, he is going to like change every game that he's playing. So for me, like it was weird watching like, oh, now he's the GOAT. I'm like, he wasn't before. Like it's weird to me because like I never felt like this particular competition was holding his back. I always felt like that's the rest of his team. Like it's not his fault that team doesn't win. Like it's always been the rest of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think, of course, me being me, I can definitely make a great argument for why Messi is not. But at the same time, it's impossible to just negate, his body of work. I mean, given everything is under Barcelona, of course, like I said, I can make a good one because up until this is basically his first major trophy that you could say that he's won since Xavi and Iniesta left Barcelona, because he hasn't won Europe. And like I always say, like between him and Guardiola, they haven't won anything big without Xavi and Iniesta. Like those are two guys that you could be like, oh, without them, all this shit falls apart. But
I take that comment of offense, and I'm not a City fan or a Guardiola fan, but winning the Premier League is no easy achievement. Doing it more than once is certainly no easy achievement, and he has done that without Iniesta and Xavi. So let the record state.
He's won leagues everywhere. They're like, winning the league is fine because he got brought to Bayern to win Europe. Didn't happen. Didn't even make a final. And thanks to your boys, he's still over at City in Europe. But that's a whole other argument and everything. But yeah, Messi, of course.
Paid. Porto was paid.
But yeah, it was a great final. Di Maria got the winner that in the final and managed to hold Brazil to a donut. And like I said, it's that was a real dope moment just to see the amount of emotion that Messi showed for winning. Because you can't for everything that's happened with Messi in with the Argentina national team, just like all the starts and stops and like, hey, fuck y'all, fuck you too, and all that shit. To reach this point, at this point in his career, I think probably makes this win that much sweeter. What you get a chance to? Did you get a chance to look at it, Chris?
Yeah, I watched it, and I watched a lot of that the entire tournament, and I felt that in addition to the fact that Argentina won it, how he played during the whole competition.
Yeah.
Leading it in goals, leading it in assists, leading in dribbles, leading in chances created, he led the entire competition, basically every statistical category you can, and they won. I mean, I think that did put to bed any kind of doubt that he chokes, and the other arguments that people try to make about him in international competition. I mean, he put all that to bed by being by far and away the best player in the entire tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely just the few games I was able to catch, because most of the games I actually watched were with Argentina. So I think that speaks to just, even if you're not thinking about Messi, you end up watching them and you're just without him, you probably wouldn't be watching this tournament. He is that type of star player, and he showed up. So, and unlike some people who we will get to later on in the show, but yeah, I think that it's there was one part I could not help but just laugh at in the post game, because I didn't realize that Messi and Neymar haven't faced each other at all, period, since they were teammates at Barcelona. So basically they're this is the first time you've seen them on the pitch together. In any game, because Neymar wasn't there 2 years ago when Brazil beat Argentina in the Copa semifinal. So this is basically it, and they shared an embrace after the game that would have rivaled any type of emotional embrace, like the bodyguard or or Robin Hood Men in Tights. Like it was just like the camera just spinning all around him. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe that it's been this long since I've seen you and everything, and like all you want to do is just play "I Will Always Love You" during the moment. But yeah, man, it's definitely good to see Messi. And then I'm not sure like how people view the Copa America, because it obviously doesn't get the same type of coverage that the Euros do, or even the Gold Cup does here, because like they didn't have a TV deal here until like a couple weeks before the tournament started. But I definitely think that if there's ever a tournament that you should be checking out more often, it's definitely the Copa America. I think are they going to a 2-year cycle now, like the Gold Cup? Is that the plan? I feel like they're definitely running them a lot more than they used to.
I do believe so, is what I thought I saw, but we'll get Stat Boy on it. I think we have an intern in the wings. So,
I feel like the goal. I feel like the goal is to like get them like on the same cycle or the same year as the Euros. So I say it's definitely if you catch on the right summer, you get all your fix of soccer that you can stand. But yeah. TK, can I ask you a question? Did it come home?
It didn't deserve to come home. It went to Rome, as Benici said very clearly to the camera as soon as they got that penalty in, man. And it deserved to. The way that England fans acted after the match was disgusting.
Not even after the match.
I mean, you're right.
Before the match.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but that is a little bit of like, it's got this crazy like duality and like its reflection of society with like, this happened at Manchester United with the fans breaking in the grounds, and then with the insurrection here in the United States. So like, there's a lot of things that are kind of like accompanying these acts or like moments, like you could just like mark and, on the timeline as far as like society essentially just boiling over in one way, shape or fashion, and how it's now peered into soccer. But this is an unfamiliar thing. But back to the match. I mean, it would have been nice to win it, man, but I can say shout out to Jordan Pickford.
He showed up. Like it's funny because like the last couple of years, especially like since the World Cup, I was like, "Are we sure this is the guy that should be starting for England?"
Bro.
But he showed up. Like I think he had a very solid tournament.
Yeah,
and,
in my book, I'm not a Pickford fan at all. 0-0-0-0. But yeah, he had a good tournament, and to their credit, Walker and Shaw had an excellent tournament. So I think that pairing of those three, that was a good spine. And the only thing I can really walk away from it is like my takeaway is like many times as I had an issue with Gareth Southgate's lineup, they got to the final. He's been hired in 2016, or he got hired in 2016. In 2 years, he made it to the semifinal of a World Cup in Russia, and then now we're in a final of the very next international competition in the cycle. So I hear all the people saying Southgate out, but right now I think we have to ride the wave because, also I think it's Steve Holland.
I think you have to ride the wave because all these considered, like who would you hire if you let him go? Because there's not a great deal of English coaches out there at all. Like I know, Chris, you go into a lot about the issues with pay to play and everything. Like they have much of the same issues that we do when it comes to just getting coaches out there and getting them certified. I think like I was reading something the other day, like the number of like I think it's like level B coaches in England, like. It's like 2 or 3 times less than what they have in like Germany or Spain.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with just that much of a dearth of coaches out there, like how can you develop that next great English coach? Because especially when all the top coaches in England are normally looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know. I mean, as much as I found the substitutions at the very end for to get the guys on to take the penalties a little bit weird, and everybody,
very weird.
And everybody I was setting with felt that it was weird. I mean, it's hard to argue a semifinal and a final in your first two tournaments, in charge. It's a little bit hard to argue against that, so it's a results driven business, and those results are better than what they've had before for a long time.
Right.
So, I mean, do you really think that finding somebody else is going to deliver better results? And if you don't think so, you have to stay with the next guy at least for one more tournament. Is he going to win the next one? He went from a semifinal to a final. Is the next one a win? Or is the next one, a quarterfinal? If it's a quarterfinal, you get rid of them. If it's a win, you made the right decision.
Yeah, I think especially like given the examples we saw earlier in the tournament, like with France and with Germany, I think that, of course, given their recent successes out in the past decade, I think they're kind of case in point examples of, okay, like, is this the right time to go ahead and, cut bait, or do we feel that, this is still, we can still ride this out at least through the World Cup and see where things are. I think the FA already said, like, we're committed to Southgate through 2024. And I'm like, okay,
I mean, he said, though, he's got to see what it's like after 2022. But I think given COVID, that automatically pushes him, past that mark.
Yeah. I definitely think that just given the general turnaround going to you're starting now, you basically have 18 months to the World Cup, like
500 days or less. Less 500 days.
Like, you really have to just say, like, do we have enough? Are we in a good enough place to where we can ride this out, or do we need to go ahead and cut bait? I think, like with Germany, obviously they already made the choice and parted with Jogi Löw, and France said, okay, we're still good with the champs. But I think Southgate, I think just given the magnitude of losing at Wembley in a final off a PK shootout, I think everyone's kind of just like still shell shocked from that, and be like, I'm not sure like what way they want to go, but I do think that whatever happens, they have to get over this hangover real quick, because I think that given how English soccer media usually is, they're going to have to just find a way to block it out for like the next 6 or 7 months. So like, hey, we got to just push ahead.
I got a question for you guys. Do you think if the final wouldn't have been at Wembley, that people would have viewed it in a much better light? Like if that final would have been in Berlin, a neutral site, do you think everybody would be happy with the result?
Honestly, yes.
It wouldn't be nearly as toxic. I'll say that much, because, like I said, like their expectation was obviously we're at home, we should win, right? And given just how that shootout kind of unfolded, I think that the backlash isn't quite as severe if, like I said, they're in Ukraine. Like, no, it definitely would be the same. What you got, TK?
No, I agree. I think it's definitely not going to be nearly as big of a thing where like you have people talking about it in between matches at Wimbledon. Like I mentioned it on the pod previously. Like England is out of control right now in the sense that they have like, I joke that the Tour de France started in the English Channel, and that along with Wimbledon concurrently happening with the Euros having so many matches taking place in England, in Wembley specifically, it's like they could have certainly spread that out and like shared the wealth of nothing else. But UEFA really, I don't know what England did, but I do know they wrecked their 2030 bid with this bullshit here. So I will say that.
Let's get into that because, like I said, you mentioned the post-game shenanigans, but like we actually had to go into like the pre-game shenanigans because before the game, and what did I tell you last week? I was like, watch day, because I think the plan was to go 60,000. That looked like a smooth 80,000 that got in, a smooth 80,000, and that's because fans decided to bum rush the gates at Wembley, and it turned into a real situation, and like to the point of where I think they had like 50 people got arrested. It probably should have been more. People were injured, and I definitely think that there's been talk that UEFA just might punish the English FA and Wembley, and I think that like even before you get to all the racist bullshit, you got to deal with your security was definitely suspect.
On that note, Greg, so I don't when it comes to international soccer, I got one team that I root for and that's it. And so I don't really get into, I wasn't into the Euros like some of y'all, even apparently as y'all talk about it, clearly y'all were more into it than I was, but I
love soccer.
I love soccer too, but there's plenty of soccer going on. I'm with you. But, for me, I didn't really come in with a rooting interest, and I started paying attention right at the very end of the semifinal. And English fans are the worst. They're the worst.
Dude.
They are gross. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I feel like there's a lot of American soccer fans who feel like we owe something to England in the sense of that we are somehow less than them. And so they worship at the altar of, English Premier League and all of that. But the reality is, man, their fans are the worst. They're racist, drunk, fighting, rioting. It was all the stuff that we see in the United States. And we call people, hooligans and hoodlums and all this stuff, and it's all happened in England this time. And it's I don't know. I rooted against England just because their fans are so gross. And don't get me wrong, you could probably find that at any major cultural center in Europe. You're going to find crappy fans, but the number of crappy fans seemed a little bit over what I would have expected in England. And it was, and then the weird footage of the fans breaking into the stadium and the fans that had paid were fighting the fans who were breaking in. It's chaos.
People were losing their seats.
It's wild.
Just a whole dynamic. And of course you saw the behavior and you're like, oh, I see where we kind of pick up those habits from. That was kind of familiar. And it's just and it's funny because especially given the last couple of years, like I said, you had the World Cup semifinal run a couple of years ago, and now you have this. It's definitely, you've seen everything ramped up to a higher level compared to 06 or 2010, things like that. Because the team has gone deep, and that's giving people hope. And with that hope has come some belligerent ass shit.
Well, and you hinted at it, but the racism that came out after the missed penalties, I don't know. I saw that quote. Someone put it together. I saw it on Twitter, but Ozil, when he quit playing for Germany, and he said that when we win, I'm German, but when we lose, I'm an immigrant. And for the same thing for these players that, they're black now because they missed kicks or because the kicks didn't go in. It gets to the level, again, I don't look, you're playing for your national team. I don't know any way around it, right? Because you can only play for who you can play for, right? When it comes to your national federation. But it sucks for these guys because what other option to play for this team with these terrible fans? And I know there's good ones out there too, right? I don't think that any any body of people is completely homogenous, but it's just like the gross, predictable reaction. Like even to the point that people were trying to sort of get ahead of it because they knew it was coming. Like it says something about your fan base if people are already like basically preparing themselves for the backlash of racism that's going to come against these players. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to, we decry racism in this country. We should decry racism over there. Like it's not acceptable anywhere. And it sucks because these players are the best that country has. Harry Kane gets a free pass for everything because he's white. And I can't, like, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Like,
sorry, Harry Kane fans.
Nah, don't be sorry. Like, I'm on record saying he's the American Wando. So yeah, but no, let's get into it. So you had the game with the PKs 1-1 through extra time, and so yeah, like the first two kicks by England by Harry Kane and Harry Maguire. Now they went in, and then you had Marcus Rashford, who hadn't played the whole game, Jadon Sancho, who hadn't played the whole game, and then Bukayo Saka, who honestly had a very suspect sub appearance. And mind you, you had like I think like by the time they put those. By the time they put Rashford and Sancho, and they had like I think like a good 7 attackers to choose from, just to do PKs. You had Grealish available. You still had Sterling available, and that played most of the game. And I'm like, I can only speak for how I look at it. I would have been okay with using one between Rashford and Sancho, not both. And then I was talking to our homegirl. Sills from Shea Butter FC, and she was like, 1 in 5 should be your top 2 PK takers. And I have a very hard time thinking that Saka was your second best PK taker available. I just don't see it. Now, I think he held his own throughout the tournament, but the final he didn't have a great game. But yeah, like I think that you sometimes you just got to read the room and say like, yeah, like this isn't his vibe, and everyone handles pressure differently. And I think that you put them in a very, it just wasn't a good situation.
Did you happen to see the video of Gareth Southgate in the huddle before assigning penalties?
Yes. I had a joke for that when I first saw it. I was like, is he giving out like to go orders or something? But but yeah, I definitely saw that. And yeah, I think that this. I know Grealish came out yesterday on Monday saying that I volunteered. I volunteered as tribute. Like I wanted to get in there, and but he wasn't selected in that first 5.
Southgate walked right by him, bro. He like barely looked over his shoulder like,
Like, I'm good. You good.
I mean, talk about getting just like just brushed.
I think it's frustrating though. Like players miss penalties. Even great players miss penalties. The keeper they were going against was the man of the tournament. So I think fans have to accept that there are going to be times when even the best player will miss a penalty or have a penalty stopped. And that has zero to do with anyone's race. At some level, it has zero to do with anyone's age because young people can miss penalties. Old players can miss penalties. It's this frustrating like level of defeatism that people have. And I understand that there's a history in England when it comes to these tournaments and that some of that fatalism comes from that. But like to mark these players in a way to question the quality that they clearly have in every level of sport that they've played, to somehow make it about this single moment is ridiculous. Just like we were talking about when you look at Messi. Was Messi not winning that cup before? Did that make him, I guess you could say it made him less class of a player, but did it make him a shit player? Absolutely not, right? Like, he was still one of the greatest of all time. So that's where I get frustrated, is just that reaction of like, this player's crap now, and like, oh, well, he sucks. And it's like, what? Like, there was this one moment, and for these players, some of these guys are in their early 20s. You're trying to define a career that has just started, and these are some of the best players in the world who play in some of the best leagues in the world, and you're somehow defining them by this single moment. It's ridiculous. Sorry, I got fired.
What you got, Chris?
I agree. No, I basically, they're not a crapshoot. A lot of people like to say they're a crapshoot, but I don't know if you all, I shared it on Twitter like a week ago. I saw this very interesting study that somebody had did about, PKs. They analyzed every single PK that had been taken in a World Cup, the Euros, Copa America, and like Champions League, for like 40 years or something. I mean, it was like thousands of PKs. And they went through like how long after the referee's whistle before the person takes it, and just like all of the like the reaction after the first PK taker makes it. They overly celebrate what that does to the team, and if you win and lose and all this stuff. And I mean, I can't imagine the pressure in a Euro final to take a PK. I mean, look, I'm 45, and I know what it's like when I take a PK in my over 30 indoor league. Like, so I can't even imagine what it's like to feel like if you're going to let your whole country down. And I've worked my whole life
in your national stadium.
Yeah, in front of everybody. And, quite honestly, Rashford and, Saka and Sancho, they probably knew if they missed what they were going to have to deal with, in a way that the Harry Kane, it didn't even cross his mind,
Yeah.
And I can't imagine it. And dude, like, I think that a lot of times regular people make judgments about irregular situations that they can't even fathom. If that makes sense.
No, it definitely makes sense, because I think we probably see it more commonly with basketball, just in all the amount of hot takes that we see throughout all the debate shows and everything. And I think that, of course, it's only ramped up over there because this is supposedly their sport. This is what they were getting. Like, it's supposed to be coming home, and instead it went over to Rome. And it's my only fear and hope, especially for Saka, because he's only 19.
Yeah.
The good news is that he's young, and there is time to basically still make his own mark, so to speak. But at the same time, he's young, and until England, finally does win an international trophy again, every time a tournament comes around, they'll be like, hey, remember that one time Saka missed the winning PK at Wembley? That's always going to be brought up until they win. And like, you want to be able, they're going to be able to move on, and you just get reminded of it every 2 to 4 years. Like, yeah, remember that time? Yeah, you missed. Yeah. And that's going to stop.
Though. He can get away from that. There's like opportunity because he's young enough.
Yeah. Like, hopefully, between what he does at Arsenal and, assuming that he's able to maintain his form and improve and continue on with England, he gets an opportunity to get right, because all things considered, I think that they still have a very young squad that, should be able to compete through 2022 and at least 2024. So, and probably even 26 as well. So
I'm curious if we won't see a generation of young black men oftentimes from immigrant families make decisions about who they play for in these national tournaments, if they start looking to where their families may be from, 2 or 3 generations back, and maybe make decisions based off that, if this is the reaction when you lose or fail, why not?
I cannot remember who said it. I cannot remember who I saw talking about that on Twitter, but it was a very famous English player who's retired was talking about that very thing. Like, look,
right, probably.
I don't remember if it was him or not, but because I don't want to assign it to somebody and be wrong about it. But he was literally talking about this very thing. He was like, look, if you have the opportunity to play for somebody else, you don't have to deal with this. You can go play for Jamaica. You can go play for Ghana or Nigeria or wherever your ancestors are from. You have options, and you don't have to deal with this. And I was, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's just something that I think that it's something that if you're a young player and you have aspirations to be at that level and you have the ability to be at that level, you have to make a real decision about, your health and future. Because like you all are talking about, like soccer is going to be known for this forever, in England. But if you are with, like I can't think, Sterling, I think that he could have played for Jamaica, if I'm not mistaken. If he would play for Jamaica, he would be a national hero.
National hero, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it's going to make a lot of these decisions tougher, I think, for people.
Yeah, and like piggybacking off of that, I'm not sure if he's made it officially official yet, but I know like there was some buzz on Twitter Monday, just following all of this, where Callum Hudson-Odoi, your boy from Chelsea, TK, he was talking about switching from England to Ghana in response to this, and I definitely do think that, and I know Jamaica. They've already been making it kind of like their MO, like the past year or so, to start looking at a lot of English expats who your parents came over. Let's see if we can get you switched over to the national team.
Yeah,
come on.
And I definitely think that between most of the Caribbean islands and the West Indies, definitely a bunch of African countries. Yeah, I definitely think that they're going to look at what happened here and really, just be like, we need to take pause and see do we want to put up with this if all you're going to do is shit on us the moment that we fail, because I think, like you said, Dan, Harry Kane doesn't have to worry about this. Grealish doesn't have to worry about this. Pickford doesn't have to worry about this. But, people will probably find room to bitch at Sterling. And honestly, had England won, he's probably the player of the tournament for them.
Probably is not the way to say that. He is definitely the player of the tournament.
Yeah.
You never know with UEFA. I ain't giving them that much credit.
Well, my favorite player for that English squad is Rashford, who plays for United and is like the model citizen, like the nicest, most generous person, and still getting crapped on because of this. It's so frustrating. Just, I don't know. And that the abuse that Rashford has taken has gone on for years.
Exactly. He has an MBE, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
He's like what you want your son to be.
Yeah. Or who I want my daughter to marry.
Yeah. Everything that he's done in the past year and a half, trying to get people, kids lunches and everything, basically going against the government itself, just trying to keep people fed during the pandemic. I'm like, dude, it's just funny, how people will switch up the moment that you do something that, it's like a breach to them. It's absolute bullshit. We've seen, I think he has a mural in Manchester. It got vandalized, but then of course supporters, they've done something real dope and just, from them and pay tribute to him, over top of that, over what got vandalized, and is actually made for a really beautiful moment. But yeah, like I say, like if for all the Black English players out there, if you would like to come to America, we welcome you with open arms. MLS a little janky. MLS a little janky. You have to figure out TAM and GAM a little bit, but hey, at least the people over here, we fuck with you. We roll with you. So
honestly, if we get an influx of players, then TAM and GAM could disappear.
I don't trust Garber that much, so we have to see about that. But it sounds great in theory. But yeah, of course, we were remiss. Yeah, congrats, Italy. Yada yada. Yeah, y'all
right. So. We talked about was England.
And we're anti-England.
But no bullshit. They did have a great tournament. Donnarumma had an excellent tournament. It's going to be it's absolutely wild that he's about to move anywhere he wants on a free. I'm like, you are the next Buffon, the first Donnarumma, and yeah, you're basically going for nothing to probably the PSG or whoever's got the money right now, because yeah, he's about to be a very rich man. But
who's the best goalkeeper in the world? I want to hear from everyone.
Oh, right now?
Right now. Was he playing in the Copa America tournament? Was he playing in the Euros?
No.
Certainly not in the Gold Cup.
Rude. Ochoa might be liked by some people. You never know.
Also true.
Wouldn't be me.
Up until
say it.
No, what the keeper for Barcelona? I actually like him a lot.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Cause I actually do think like with them moving on basically to the next generation for Germany, I think he stands a really good shot of taking over for Neuer.
Yeah. City played in the Euros.
But I like him. Of course, Schmeichel had a very solid tournament.
Who was that?
Denmark. Schmeichel.
Schmeichel.
But of course, there. You know what? There is one guy that allegedly wears blue in Chelsea that I actually probably would get the title to be because I actually have a running joke on Twitter now. Whenever something crazy happens, I'm like, Minnie would have got that. So yeah, I actually I personally, I would say Mendy. I think Donnarumma definitely is top 4, 3, something like that. I like Onana. I like Oblak.
But this is a top 5, Grego. What are we doing? Who's number 1?
I had to think like once my brain started going, it started flowing. But I got you.
It started going and flowing.
Oh, and Allison, yeah.
Yeah, Allison's good.
Yeah, Chris.
With keepers, it's like I feel like until they really, really fuck up, like you say it's top 5. I mean, that is what it is, right? Like I don't think that the difference between number 1 and number 5 or even number 10 is that great. I think it's just like it's inches. And I always think Neuer for Germany, and he's on his way out. And to me, like I don't see him making massive mistakes. And so for me, like I think of players like that. It's like show me how he sucks. Show me how he's fallen off. And he's getting older, but like all these guys, you can keep until you're in your 40s, 50s.
I think with Neuer, I think he kind of ran into the same situation that Buffon did for a while, where it's like he was hurt for so often that really didn't have the time to really see him get featured. And then once he was healthy, it was like, oh, that's why he's the best. And I know that Bayern has already made plans as far as getting the next heir apparent. I forgot who they bought from Schalke to replace him, but I don't see. I think that in Neuer's case, the drop off isn't that much. It's just a matter of staying healthy. But I mean, like you said, like the difference between 1 and 10, not a great deal.
Nubel is the keeper. Bayern, Nubel, Alexander.
What you got, Chris?
Yeah, I honestly, every time I see a keeper make like a great save, I go, man, that dude's like one of the best keepers in the world. I mean, there's so many keepers that make amazing saves that I think I can't make a decision. I mean, every single keeper that you all have named, in my head, I go, oh, I'm getting ready to save him. Nope, I'm getting ready to save him. Like every single one of them. Because you can make the case for like 10 guys. But I would say that Schmeichel and Alisson are probably like my two favorite to watch. But that I'm not necessarily saying they're the two best. They're just like my two favorite to watch, if that makes sense.
And as a Coach Tony shout out, I can't forget Keylor Navas. Can't forget him.
Coach is probably going for Onana.
Yeah. It's a free Onana. But that's our finals recap for the Euros and the Copa America. On the flip, we're going to talk about the NISA Independent Cup more with Dan and Chris, and two up and two down. And of course, we'll have a quick word from our fam at Protagonist, and we'll be right back.
This is an Alliance podcast.
And we're back. Man. You were saying something about Cindy Cohn having an interview today before we were recording. Chris, what was going on there?
So she had a Q&A with the Aspen Institute. They're the people that do like all kinds of youth sports surveys and state of the nation when it comes to youth athletics and whatever, participation surveys, things like that. And so, they were just asking a bunch of questions that were submitted from participants in the conversation. And, long story short is she just sort of danced around a lot of very hard questions and without giving the kind of straightforward answers that many people were hoping to hear.
I don't know what it is about that office. It's like can't get a straight answer to save their life. Just can't do it. But like I mentioned in the past couple of weeks, I'm looking forward to 2023. The sun-free U.S. soccer. We'll see where things go there. We'll see. Because right now, still got some shit. But talk about some good shit. First off, congrats to Detroit City for winning the spring NISA championship. They won it like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beat LA Force 1-0.
Yeah, we have a decent relationship with most of the Northern Guard, I think. It's it can get spicy from time to time, but it's cool. Cool. Shout out to Dion. But
NGS always keeps it spicy.
Yes, they do. So, NISA Independent Cup. Is this new as of this year?
No, NISA Independent Cup actually rolled out during the pandemic last year. It was planned to launch this year, but when so much soccer got canceled last year with the pandemic, the Independent Cup was done as a way to get teams still into the mix, and it was a way to sort of create buzz around the league without the league actually playing, and was released in a very limited way. I think there was only 4 regions last year, and this year there's 9. I'm going to get corrected if I was wrong on my region count, but I know there's 9 this one. 64 teams this year. So there is a lot. I should say 63 because one of them dropped out. I forgot about that. Thank you, 1904.
Yes.
Yep. San Diego. Yeah. So the Independent Cup is this amazing sort of, it's an idea that is very similar to the Open Cup, sort of in theory, right? That we can have both professional and amateur teams from multiple leagues come together and play in this. It's basically a series of friendlies. It's designed as a tournament, so there is a regional winner, but there's no sort of no playoffs after that, at least not as of yet. So, but it's this awesome idea, right? So you have these pro teams in NISA paired with amateur sides from the NPSL, the UPSL, the EPSL, Southwestern Premier League, Midwestern Premier League, all over the country, that it allows exposure for these teams. The vast majority of these matches are either being aired on BN Sports Extra or are being shown online through 11 Sports, formerly Mycujo. So there is it's fun. I mean, we watched, Chicago House AC, Peter Wiltsu Club actually went up against an NPSL side, Milwaukee Torrent, who have had this really amazing regular season in the NPSL. But it was and House is very much at the beginning of their roster development. So it was
literally their first ever game.
Yeah. And it was what are we going to see here? And in theory, a professional team would have a better chance against an amateur side, but this is an amateur side that's been playing a full regular season. The NPSL had gone, I think had lost a single match all regular season. And this was last weekend, took on Chicago House AC, who was at the very beginning of their roster development, and beat them 2-0. So I think that's the kind of stuff that you want to see in the Open Cup. It's the kind of stuff that you want to see in the Independent Cup. And I don't think that you're going to see a ton of professional sides lose to amateur sides, but it allows this opportunity to see the underdogs against the teams that are in theory superior. And that's fun. That's part of a cup system that you want to see. It's why the Open Cup is so popular, and it's why it's so baffling that the Federation doesn't seem to care that the Open Cup is continuously shunned over and over again by the decisions they make. So the Independent Cup is a great place for fans of the Open Cup to come as sort of an alternative. Basically it's sort of a NISA created, fan created, alternative to the lack of an Open Cup.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love it. And I think I've said this several times. I think it's the most exciting thing in lower division soccer right now. I mean, it's 9 regional cup competitions currently. And if I'm not mistaken, they said they want to get to 16 regional cup competitions in it. Oh, wow. I believe, I can't remember exactly, but it's just like Dan said, it gives these amateur teams that, from what I understand, these are people who are expressing the interest in being aspirational, moving from, an amateur club to a professional club. Because if you listen to the announcers who were the Milwaukee Torrent announcers, they said actually that their players got paid. They're just in NPSL, but they are professional players for the summers.
I'm somewhat familiar with the Torrent. Of course, given the Milwaukee area, you have a team in Madison, there should have been a major professional team in Milwaukee by now. And of course, the Torrent have been around for some years now.
Yeah. I mean, and it was a good game. I mean, it was, look, I love the idea. I've watched, that was last year. I watched a lot more of the games. Mm-hmm. This year I've only gotten a chance to watch just that one. I made sure that I put it on my calendar because I wanted to watch Chicago House's first game. So I set aside some time to make sure that I caught that one. And I'm sure that as they're on BN Sports Extra, I'll catch more of the games. But it's a very interesting, development. And watching, I mean, look, the Maryland Bobcats, won their section. They beat New Amsterdam last year, I believe, and to win their their region, and now they're in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I think if you look at it and you look and see like, hey, they have fans in the stand. Hey, they have a great team. Hey, they have a professional, look to their whole organization here. You can see who's trying to make that step and Visa's doing a good, I mean, for all of its faults, they're doing a great job with this incubator to call, for future professional clubs. As much as I love the competition and what it does for lower division soccer and how it brings all of these teams together in these regional cups, for what it's doing for the league to bring people in, to put them in the environment of, hey, this is going to be a professional event. And you're able to judge what the teams actually look like, as an organization and how they're managed and ran. It's a great kind of, thing to see. When they say, hey, we want to be a part of the league, you can see what it's going to be like, even if it's just for 4 games. And most leagues, USL doesn't get to do that. So hopefully they're going to continue to bring in good clubs to grow the league using this as a showcase for them.
Well, there is, let's not forget, there is actually one USL side, not a USL championship side, but a USL 2 team, PDX, is playing in this. Yeah, I mean, this is, I think that as a person that's watched, let's say over the weekend, I watched, I think, 6 of these matches, cause I have a problem clearly. But while everyone else was watching Euros and other more, I guess, more professional soccer, I was watching these, but I will tell you, it's an interesting mix because there are some teams that draw fans. There are some that don't. It was amazing, particularly on Saturday when there were matches kicking off all over the country at different times. And you were going from one place, Tommy Smith was doing the announcing for, Lansdowne Yonkers and,
Really?
Oh yeah, well he's their honorary president, and so Tommy Smith, listen to Tommy Smith do a call. Now Tommy Smith is older now, but still listening to that Irish like accent coming through.
Irish.
Yeah, I mean, and he's great. Like he's he's fun. And listening to that, like he did the call for them. There were some teams like LSR, Lone Star Republic that play in Northeast Texas. They're out of the DFW area. Their feed was as good as you'd get out of anything less than MLS, because they focus on that. It's one of the things that they do as a club. Now they ended up drawing 2-2, but these are like great matches to watch. And I am, for a long time, I've been covering amateur soccer for, I guess, 3 years now, 3.5 years. And one of the complaints is the streaming, like that. Oh, well, the streaming sucks. I will tell you that sometimes is true that there's bad streaming, but streaming has fundamentally changed the way that fandom is in lower league soccer, that you do not have to live locally and you could still support a team. Teams like MPLS City, teams like, I'm trying to think, like there are teams all over the NPSL and the UPSL that can draw fans from all over the world because of streaming now, and tournaments like this, like the Independent Cup, can shine because they're allowed, like these streaming platforms are allowing fans all over the world to watch this soccer. I love it, man. I get fired up. I am fired up. I watched a lot of soccer this weekend.
Yeah, it definitely creates a market for it, especially, of course, given the overall jankiness of our system where everything is pretty much top heavy towards MLS. Just having, just that exposure, it creates demand, and it says like, hey, I want to see this too. It's not just, what you see in the top 30 or 40 markets. There's teams within those markets that, deserve attention as well.
There's teams in Billing, Montana that we should pay attention to. But I would say that like the benefits are not just for the clubs themselves, right? It's also to these players who have an opportunity to have exposure against maybe talent outside of their league. If they're playing against a pro side, it's a chance for a pro side. If I was Chicago NISA, I'd be looking at that torrent roster for potential players for my roster, considering they just beat you. Those are the kind of matchups that are allowed in this tournament. I can remember, you guys remember the Open Cup, I think 3 years ago, when Florida Soccer Soldiers beat a USL side and then went on and lost to a second USL side. And one of their players, the players that had scored the goals during that tournament, actually got signed by the USL side, which is a sign that if you players can get exposure and they're talented, they'll have the chances. The problem is our system sort of creates these enclaves where talent isn't seen and it just withers away. And we don't have a very open system. And so tournaments like this create opportunities for these players, for these clubs. And these clubs are also in some ways auditioning for potential investors to come in and help them go up. Let's be real, like cash is part of the equation here, and who has the money will unfortunately decide sometimes the extent to which these teams can rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of cash and exposure, I think TK has a story in relation to that in two up until now, at least I think. But yeah, man, I definitely, I'm mad that I missed Chicago House because I definitely have friends involved with that. Plus, Peter Wilt, some people in the culture have mixed feelings towards him, but I know he's been cool towards me, at least personally. So I'm all right with him. But
they got spanked.
So what?
They got spanked. It's 2-0. But it was like a bunch of games. It's like, to Dan's point, there was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games on from 4 p.m. to freaking 5 p.m. So it's a lot of matches. That's a rival to what you see from MLS on a match day. So, I mean, with the streaming quality, the way it is, and you can even get that was it Elon Musk has the satellites internet in the middle of the woods if you really need it. I mean, like, access is there, man.
Between him and Richard Branson going to space, I mean, the rich people trying to get it straight, man.
Dude, we got people starving to death, but the rich people get to go to space.
Thank you. Right. Say it for what it is. It's like our priorities. I think Bernie Sanders, God, man, when that guy dies, it's the world is really going to be a sad place. Knowing the champion of small causes.
But yes, again, you can catch NISA Independent Cup. You said, what's the new name for my Cujo?
11 Sports.
11 Sports.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely get your fix of independent soccer. And like I said, check out some new teams because there are a lot of people out here that do not quite realize that there's a shit ton of soccer beyond MLS. And this is definitely, basically at the heart and soul of it, and it goes coast to coast. So, you never know, like what team you might check out and be like, hey, I'm from not that far from there. I might be that person from Billings, Montana, and be like, yeah, my team's actually in the Independent Cup, and let's check that out. So give that a shot. Like I said, there's more than enough soccer this summer. So yeah, give that a shot too. So, but yeah, before we go up to down course, before we do our August break next month, make sure that you get over to FTCUTD.myshopify.com. Make sure you get your name sets. Make sure you get your shirts. I can already tell you right now, because once we go on break, I'm working on the merch and everything, but definitely at least what we have right now, go ahead and get it. It makes our podcast great. It makes you great when you go to the games and all that jazz.
I'm loving that shirt you're wearing right now, Greg. It's looking good.
Yeah. Of course, I'm gonna need Oakland to figure out their first take care of COVID. Please do that. And then work out the turf situation, because that's a bit unfortunate. But
there's a whole story behind that turf, man.
Yeah, man. Like that is like what's the movie? The Traveling Pants, just a traveling turf. Like, yeah, I know a little bit about that turf, but yeah. Yeah, make sure you can get this shirt here. You can get other shirts. You can get hats and all that stuff at FTCUTD.myshopify.com. You can get even that hat that TK's wearing right now, and the mug. I would typically have my mug. I'm drinking my Stella right now, but hey, get out and support.
We're also considering doing not personalized, but personal size 3x5 culture flags. The one that look like this, but they will look like something.
Yeah, I said that was big, and I missed it at the games. Are we going this week? Are we going?
Dude, I have a baby.
I'm trying to get the fly back at the game. I'm trying to get back at the stadium, man.
I hear you. You could come pull it off the ceiling. It's fine.
Put it up in my cold dead hands.
No, not like that. I'll give it to you. I'll meet you at the door.
Oh man, so let's get up in this 2 up and 2 down, man. I know last week you were kind of quiet on 2 up 2 down, TK. Hopefully we got some good shit for you this week. What we got for you, man?
Down is England. Up is, I don't want to say it, but because I have such a hard time as a Chelsea fan, but shout out to Jorginho as from
the man came through.
We say
the man came through.
Yeah, but with Italy or Italia.
You know what? Y'all Chelsea deserves a shot because y'all were up and through the Final Four. Y'all really were up and through it.
The only place Chelsea wasn't was the Copa. So we don't have any Argentinian players. That's not been a strong suit of the club, is to bring in Argentinian nationals. So at least with the history, but neither here nor there. Yeah, big down is England. Big up is geez, I forgot what I said, but also another up is the chick who won Wimbledon, man. She was she's from Australia, man. I can't even remember her name, but she was just delightful to watch. I don't even like tennis, you know. I was like
Marty.
No, she won the women's single.
Oh, the doubles?
No, not the doubles, the singles.
Yeah, Barty.
Is it Barty?
Yeah.
Hold on. No. I got you. It's Australia.
I got you, man. Like I said,
I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. It is. Thank you. Stat boy and former Grego. Ashley Barty, yeah. Shout out, man. Cheeky as hell. Do we have another down?
Louisville,
yeah, but I didn't really want to get into that, and I also thought that we might touch over that with just like talking about lower league soccer and amongst that.
Honestly, I think that so for those of y'all that don't know, Louisville has a player that's getting looked at by Real Sociedad in Spain. Apparently, I forgot the name of the player. I'm about to pull it up real quick, but he had a deal in his contract where the previous coach, John Hackworth, who coached at Orlando, if he left the club, he could leave for a free, like we talked about earlier. And so what?
Jonathan Gomez.
Yes. And the team had to put out a statement saying, like, yeah, we fucked up. We got to reevaluate how we do our contracts because, yeah, obviously you're talking about like going from USL to La Liga. That deserves a good bit of change, and it sounds like you're about to be SOL in terms of getting that money. What have y'all been following that any, Dan or Chris?
I literally just read about it like 30 minutes before I came on with you all. And I was, couldn't understand really what was going on, why you would allow a clause like that in a contract.
That's just wild to me. That's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that as USL grows and as lower division soccer grows, that's definitely something that you have to just take into consideration, especially like how we talked about earlier with players getting exposure. And you got to take into consideration that people now have access to you to where they can see, like, hey, I like how this player plays. I might want to go check him out and give him a trial at least. And yeah, you can't be that sloppy. You just can't be that sloppy with how you do your business. And I'm sure that USL will probably look at this situation as a whole and be like, yeah, we have to make sure that we're not cutting ourselves off on potential business, because this is definitely a big opportunity for Jonathan Gomez, and definitely a big moment for Louisville, and they might not get shit from it. So yeah, what else you got, TK?
Yes. Additionally, I guess what would be my additional down?
That you haven't been to a game in forever?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to, I guess it kind of comes back to England, but yeah, man, it's something that I guess it's an up and a down. I guess that's how I'll do it. Yeah. So, we have F1, Silverstone coming up this weekend, or not this, this weekend. So looking forward to that. It'll be, Formula One and friggin' England. It's great. But down to that is, or I guess up. McLaren, shout out Lando Norris, getting it to third place at the previous race 2 weeks ago in France. But Lando Norris was also at Wembley for the England match, and this is one of the best race car drivers in the world, and he was robbed. Someone stole his watch.
Oh shit!
Yeah. But just the craziness, like I'm not sure what everyone saw or didn't see on Twitter, but it just looked like a bunch of 50-year-old dads just like waiting for Italy fans to literally, they were running like freaking cats in the rain, dude. Like imagine running from your seat in the concourse through to an exit door. Like people were just throwing wild punches, and that shit was disgusting. So apparently in the melee of that, Lando Norris got his watch stolen. So big down again for England. I guess you could big up to the black players in Osaka. Hopefully he has a blossoming career away from Arsenal, and that'll take off. Shout out to Rashford. I wish him the best after he undergoes surgery. And shout out to Jadon Sancho. I wish him the best upon his impending move to the red side of Manchester. Could have been a blue, but we'll see. I think we got Haaland coming on the way. But I digress, and that's it. Pass it off to one of these good fellas here.
Danny boy.
Let's do it. 2 up. Yeah. Let's go. I mentioned before we started recording that I used to be a big Texas state politics guy. And if you are following Texas state politics right now, they are following along. We are unfortunately a state run by the same people that run a lot of southern states, and in the worst possible way. But they tried to pass a bunch of voting restrictions, and there's a host of bills that they tried to force through at the very end of their session. And the Dems split at the last second, and because of that, there was no quorum, which is required for them to pass laws. So they had to close out the session, come back in special session. Well, the Dems split again and are now, my understanding is they're all in D.C. right now arguing for the national lawmakers to pass some of these laws that would protect voting rights across the country. So shout out to them, because sometimes you gotta run to win, and I'm good with that. Like, because in this state, the state that I love, there's a lot of shitty people in charge. My second up is the writer Clint Smith, who I sort of discovered about a month ago. I've been a big fan of Ta-Nehisi Coates, who writes for The Atlantic, and Clint Smith is also a writer for The Atlantic. I happened to discover his book, How the Word is Passed, and listen to it on Audible. I'm a big fan of Audible books. If you're not, I get it, but I love them because I can do other things in the same way I listen to podcasts, same trip. And it is about how we tell the story of slavery in this country. And Clint Smith's writing is some of the most powerful, poetic way of writing about it. He goes to very specific places across the country. I think he visits 5 or 6 different places. He visits a prison. He visits an old plantation. He visits Monticello. Visits Mount Vernon, and talks specifically about his own experience, his own family. It's just a book that it makes you think about. I don't know if anyone that follows me on Twitter, I posted a little bit about this as I was reading it. Some of the benefits that this country has benefited from. A lot of times when we talk about the Civil War, we talk about the evil of the South and the goodness of the North. But the reality is the North benefited from slavery in the South all the way up until the war. And that free labor in the South is what kept all the prices low so that the North could succeed in the manufacturing base. It's not things that I had thought about before. And it blew my mind as I read that book. So massive up to Clint Smith and his book. If you have not read How the Word is Passed, I would really recommend it. Blew my mind. Loved it. 2 down, the naked English fan who was standing on the top, way too high up, way too exposed. He should have thought about what he looked like naked before getting naked. I always say that as a man, you should know what you're working with and how you look whenever you take off all your clothes. We can all look good in clothes. We can all pick a look that looks good for us. Maybe it's an FTC shirt. Maybe it's a U.S. men's national team kit. You got to make the call on what looks good on your body. But when you take all those clothes off and you're standing up in front of everyone with their cell phones, not a good look. The man wasn't packing much heat, and you know what? You're born with what you're born with, but showing it off is not a good idea sometimes. It's not going to, it's going to earn you a lot of laughter. So down to that guy, and down to a lot of the fans for England, man. They just embarrassed themselves this weekend. It was a lot of people put hoods on, and it showed. You could see it. And then down to the vaccination doubters across this country who continue to extend this bullshit pandemic because they hate science. I don't know if y'all heard in Tennessee, they are just announced today, because of a Republican bill, all vaccine education, not just COVID vaccine education, but all vaccine education in schools is being stopped. So basically the kids will no longer be encouraged to be vaccinated. It'll be up to just parents making that decision. No education for children. It is the anti-science bug that has bit the Republican Party is repulsive. It's why there are hundreds of thousands of dead people in this country when particularly now that vaccine is out there. Go get your COVID vaccine. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect strangers around you who have compromised immunity system. Don't join these people on my 2 up and now my 2 down.
Man. You had something to say today. I appreciate that, man.
I'm happy to be here. Can't help myself. Give me a platform. I'm going to yell.
Love it. No, it's
Chris,
cool. That SMB7 will take it.
Chris. So
all right, well,
got the hang of this. What you got?
Well, I got 2 ups for sure. The first one is I want to say happy birthday to my oldest daughter, Kaya.
Yeah.
15 today. And, she made me a father, changed my life. So that's the biggest up that I can possibly have right now. So that's my first one. My second one is I want to say congratulations to Coach Smee and West Virginia United from USL2, who made the USL playoffs, friends with a bunch of the guys, in the coaching staff and ownership group. And they set a record this year for most wins, most points, just all kinds of great things. And so I want to that's my second up. And, can't wait to see him in the playoffs, in the USL2 playoffs. And then, 2 downs, I I don't really want to give 2 downs. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I want to keep it really, really positive today, and I'm going to give a third up. Okay.
Oh no, we changed the game.
Yeah, I'm going to give a third up. A third up. Okay. I want to give a shout out to all of my teammates. We started back playing over 30 soccer for the first time since the pandemic, and we won our first game last week. 17-6 in indoor. And I'm so happy to be back out there with all my friends playing for the first time in a year and a half or whatever. And I think that is outweighed any of the negatives going on in my life, today. And tomorrow I'll get back being mad about all the anti-vaxxers, just like Dan, and arguing with them on Facebook. So, tomorrow I'll have all kinds of downs. But today we're making 3 ups.
Hey, that's what's up, man.
Exchanged.
Appreciate y'all being on this week. I'm gonna get my downs out of the way real quick just to go ahead and take care of that. First down has to go to Stephen A. Smith. I'm not much of a baseball fan anymore. That's technically my first sport that I played growing up. So I still have it's still a special place in my heart for baseball. And, of course, the All-Star game is just finishing up as we record. And, of course, the big name going to the weekend was Shohei Ohtani from the LA Angels. And Japanese player, like pitching and hitting, he's just fucking unreal. And Stephen A. Smith basically made it a point to where pushing that Major League Baseball should be pushing him to speak English. And of course, there's a whole lot with just that part alone. Because, like, personally, I don't think MLB does a good enough job with just promoting players, period. And they haven't in quite some time. But, you can't knock the guy for having a translator and speaking more freely in his native language. Like, he might be able to speak English, but that doesn't matter. Like, you want to be able to get your thoughts out in the way that suits best for you. Now, if later on, if he gets more comfortable speaking English, cool, no problem at all. But, you should be putting a person in a place of discomfort just to appease the general audience, and like that's just bullshit. And he also made another note that honestly really bothered the fuck out of me. The USA basketball team been sucking like crazy, warming up for the Olympics. They've already lost to Australia and Nigeria, but he made it a point to knock the Nigerian players, especially many that are kind of like the soccer team, where you have dual nationals that are born and raised here, but they're eligible for Nigeria, and basically just making it about, it sounded very xenophobic and just lacking any type of nuance that, hey, people here can acknowledge their countries that their parents are from or grandparents are from, and you acting like you can't pronounce Okafor, like. It's absolutely dumb. Like, he's the highest paid personality at ESPN, and he's acting a whole ass fool. Of course, if you followed him long enough, you know that, hey, this is kind of par for the course for him. But yeah, I feel like he's taking advantage of the fact that he is the highest paid person and just saying some real ill shit. Aside from that, really just like, so I don't even have another down. Like, that was really my down. But as far as my ups go, shout out to, again, honestly, I'm still buzzing from Columbus last week. I really want to do some more traveling. So I'm hoping that between the Henny Derby, I can get out to Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga won their Independent Cup game, and I know we haven't been up there. 2 years, man. Like I said, fucking COVID, man. Wear your mask, please. Get your vaccines. Please keep doing that. Please, for the love of God. And don't fake the funk, acting like you take your mask off, acting like you have gotten your vaccine when you know good and damn well you have it. Don't do that. Don't be that one.
Yeah,
but
I hate to call out my UPS driver, but you know, well, hey man, you got vax? No.
But yeah, other than that, like I love seeing my fam shining. Of course, shout out to our Protagonist fam. Shout out to Shea Butter FC. Shout out to the whole clique, 2 Cents. Because Elle did a show with you last week, right?
Yeah, he came on Kicking Back, which is our history podcast, and talked about collecting and his fandom. Elle's funny, man. Dude collects comic books and like baseball cards and soccer cards. That dude collects everything, man. It's wild. And it was a great show, man. If you haven't listened to that, check out our Protagonist Pods feed. Sorry, I just plugged myself there, Greg, right in the middle of your 2 up, 2 down. My bad.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I said we got to plug the fam, and of course, Diaspora, Unfiltered, Rakaya, Can I Kick It? I said the whole fam. I said it's all love. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I got. I said we're trying to keep it positive, try to keep it light, keep the love and all that good stuff. Of course, this week the Gold Cup just got started. USA played their first game of the weekend. We'll get into more U.S. stuff, especially as the Olympics are about to get started. So, like I said, just hang tight with us on the USA talk. We'll probably get into that more next week. I wanted to make sure that we gave the Independent Cup and especially shout out to all the Black English players. Again, just come over here. We got you. Trust me. You know, like I said, Tam, Lamb, we'll figure it out together. So, but yes, where can they find you on the socials, Mr. Kessell?
Find me on Twitter, Chris Kessell. And if you really want to see about my kids, my indoor soccer team, and local politics from Charleston, West Virginia, you can add me on Facebook. But yeah, I basically just talk soccer on Twitter. So Chris Kessell.
And of course, where can they find the fabulous Protagonist Pods? Okay,
so there's a lot of our socials. We kind of do a little bit of everything. The main social. The main social is at Protagonist USA on Twitter. That is where most of our information is going. We've also got my own personal Twitter at Soccer Barista, little mix of politics, rhetoric, and of course soccer. Then at Knights Who Say Nisa. That's one of our podcasts. We have our own. You can look at us at Protagonist Pods. Yeah, okay. I think that's enough for now. But yes, all of those, they are all live. They all talk about their individual specialities. And of course, we're also on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, all the socials. Just look for Protagonist Podcast, Protagonist Soccer. You'll find us on all the other socials. But we appreciate, by the way, Greg, TK, thanks for having us on. Like it's an absolute pleasure to be on with you guys. And, Chris, he's all right, but,
that was a great chat.
I don't care what they say about you, Chris. I got no problems with you.
Yeah, man.
That beard keeps it real.
I'm glad that we finally got Chris on the show. I'm hoping that we can get him back on pretty soon. Cause again, if you haven't been following him, like he has definitely been, man that's been in the trenches as far as trying to change U.S. soccer, do it better, and make it more equitable for everybody. So again, thank you for the support. And like I said, if you haven't, make sure you're following at the Chris Kessell. And of course, you can find us on the socials at FTC
UTD
on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Like I said, we're rolling through the summer, man. So hopefully you guys are enjoying us. We'll keep cranking out this good content for you guys, at least up through August, because we got to recharge in August. School starts, all that good jazz. But hope you guys enjoy us until then. We'll have a new episode next week on your favorite podcast apps. Make sure you get us subscribe to us on your podcast apps. Subscribe to us on YouTube. and just enjoy it. Like I said, we're gonna have a good time. But until then, for TK, for Dan, for Chris, Grego, Mayor, Coach, we'll see y'all soon. Coach is real. Coach is everywhere. Come to the game Sunday, TK. We'll see you.
I gotta bet.
We out.